Hey guys, Clary Berry here today. It's kind of a sad day. Got some bad news. One of my family members has unfortunately been injured, so please pray for her. Kelly, hang in there. I know you can do it. I'm finding though that kind of keeping myself distracted right now is proving to be helpful. I'm trying to just go about my regular average day and not worry too much, besides the prayers and everything that are going up. And I thank all of you who have been praying already. So right now I just want to talk about, I know I've been talking a lot about the Weston A Foundation and how their proposed diet is obviously not traditional. And it's not just because the beef they're eating, they're feeding the beef to itself and they're feeding the animals back to themselves, when they fall, when they get sick, and that practice, Weston A Foundation admits it's only been around for 100 years, yet they're so traditional. Also, I've been talking a lot about milk lately, and obviously the Weston A diet is not traditional at all, because you have milk which was really first started to be used. A lot of people say 10,000. Really, I've seen estimates of more about 7,500 years ago. And that is just in certain parts of Europe, okay? When you look at the whole globe, like humans as a whole, you're not having a bunch of people that are drinking milk, giving it to their babies and their children until 200 years ago on a regular basis. This is when, people were actually able to keep cows and to use stuff like that. So when you look at a traditional diet, you, of course, aren't going to be eating those things. Now, not only that, let's look at the paleo diets. And they're obviously, if you don't know much about the paleo diet, it's based off the Paleolithic peoples, supposedly. And they think that, on the surface it sounds great, because the main premise is kind of, and again, this is what's good about Weston A too, is that they tell people not to eat all this white trash, these white carbs, these refined products that are so horrible for us. And not only are they like not real wheat and everything, but they're also filled with, GMO'd high fructose corn syrup and all of that to really make it more fattening and addictive. So, but we're actually going to take a look at this diet, and I have a couple of different caveats with this. I have a little a little list here. The first thing I want to talk about, same thing I talked about with the Weston A people. You can't take a diet that's made for, Paleolithic people and apply it to our, to our people. Okay? You just can't do it. People back then were surviving, they're out there. If you go out into a survival situation, you can expect to burn tons and tons more calories. They're saying, I went to just Wikipedia, basic information on paleo here. They're saying that the paleo people would spend about an average maybe of about 1,000 calories per day on exercise. And you have athletic people who are actually working out, they may be a little bit higher, but your average people these days, even fit people, are spending only about 1,000 calories a week on exercise. So you have 1,000 calories a day, with the paleo people are obviously burning off all the fat they may have been eating, I will say. And then you have 1,000 calories a week for people who are actually working out. And that's not calculating all the people who are not working out as much as they should, who go on little binges like I used to do, of working out for a while and then just not working out again. So really you have to keep that in mind. You can't intake all these calories if you're not expending them. Okay, so that's one of the main things for me. We don't live a traditional way, so why would we eat in a traditional way? And I've got more to talk about that, but I want to talk right now about how there is a lot of disagreement. I know that everybody thinks that cavemen just sat there and munched on their turkey legs and everything. This is actually not a fact at all. And it's not even close to being a fact, actually. There's a lot of disagreement. There's a lot of gray area about what they ate. And, it's not even close to being accepted as truth. Of course, you have polar people, Inuits and Alaskans who, yeah, they're eating up to 99% of their diets in animal products. However, they're only doing that. They're not doing that for health. They're doing that because they had to. Okay? When you have the plants available, you eat more plants. It's simple as that. You don't ever have people who are eating, 99% plants 99% animal products who have the availability of plants throughout the year. So the rest of the numbers that you see, if you actually look into it, is people are saying, maybe I think the average number that people think is about 55, who even 55% of their diets in animal products. And that's from people like Sally Fallon and paleo peoples who say that, 55, maybe 65% of their diets came from meat. However, if you look a little bit deeper and you look at the objective people, scientists who are studying this, you can see maybe that figure is not right. And of course, different people ate different things. So you can't really just lump it all together and say, oh, well, paleo people ate 55% of their diet in animal products, so we should too, or even fats. Because, like I said, different people did different things. It's just like people nowadays. Some people are healthier, some people are less healthier. Just because they were paleo people doesn't mean, that there's any difference. And like I said, a lot of people are saying maybe that figure is more like 25. And for me, I really am one of those people. I think that, yeah, they're eating a lot of animal products. However, the first thing that always pops into a lot of skeptics' mind is that they're not going out and killing all this wild game all the time. They're eating bugs, okay? The composition of bugs is a lot different, and even small animals like rabbits and things like that, the composition is extremely different than not only big game, but also what we're eating right now. So, and also it's not optimal. Neanderthals died out, Hello. Just because they were eating this stuff doesn't mean that it's what we should be eating. A lot of them starved to death. Who knows how healthy they were. And again, you look at people like this who are doing so much physical activity. I've seen studies in the past where, just physical activity alone can really offset a lot of bad dietary influences. So these people weren't necessarily healthy because of what they were eating. They were healthy because of their amounts of exercise. So back to the hunting. People tend to think, oh, they were just out there hunting left and right, just pulling in, mountain lions and all sorts of stuff, big old bears and all this stuff. But if you actually think about it, people lived together in communities and they had to share. And even if they would go out and get a big kill, they would still have to share it. They would still want to save it through maybe the winter or until they might find another type of animal, if they could, perhaps. I'm just speculating here. But when you look at the facts and what they found, what the archaeologists and everything have found, that actually using bows and arrows is only about 10,000 years old. You have nets and traps. They're maybe about 20 to 30,000 years old. Still, this is way, sooner than a lot of people are looking at these paleo people. So they maybe have been, catching small game and things like that, but it was a treat. If they got a bigger animal, it was a treat. They weren't eating it in huge quantities every day. They probably, if they got it, they only got it at certain times, like I said, and they had to share it. So the next thing that I want to talk about is also, kind of when you go back this far and you say, well, where do we start? If we're going to look at evolution and look at our ancestors, then why stop at paleo? Why not keep going, far enough back to, the apes? I mean, when you look at apes, when you look at, chimpanzees, again, they may eat a little bit of meat in their diet, but they're eating mostly fruits. And their teeth are the same. Yeah, they have a couple of sharp teeth, but hello. I mean, they're not basing their diet on meat. They're eating fruit, and then if they happen to have meat, or if they do have like a lack of space or food, then they may go to some meat, and fall back on that key word there, key phrase. But one of the misconceptions, and it's widely thrown out there by paleo people, anti-vegans, etc., is that that our guts are not as similar to apes as everybody wants to say. And really the only difference is that they're a little bit longer, and the people who say that our guts cannot ferment the vegetables to extract the essential fatty acids out of them and process those, first of all, I just want to say that that is not true. Okay, show me, where you guys are getting that information, because everybody who, latches on to that thinking, I haven't seen any sources. In fact, when I've looked it up, I've found not only scientific evidence, but also people who are, online, and I don't just, buy into everything I see, but when I see vegans doing their blood tests and, they're calculating what they eat every day, and they have a list, they're taking pictures of what they're eating, and they're talking about it, and then they go and show me their blood test and say, look at this, I've only eaten the only thing with essential fatty acids that I've eaten in the past, however long, couple months to whatever. And they're saying, really, if these people are correct, then I should, and they weren't eating, a bunch of walnuts or foods that, it was like a test that they were doing. I've seen numerous people do this. And guess what? The fact is that we can get essential fatty acids out of salad, out of lettuce. We can. People who tell you that, I don't know what their agenda is specifically. I think a lot of it is just repeated nonsense. So just want to throw that out there. The next thing I want to talk about is that there's also new evidence that a lot of what the Paleolithic people did before, they were adept at using these tools. And keep in mind, how hard is it? I've watched these nature shows, and, I've been camping. I have never caught anything with a net. I've never caught anything with a trap. I've never caught, this is hard to do even with, newer types of technology. So do you really think that it was that simple for them to go out and be bringing home large quantities of meat every day so that they could fill up their diets? It's crazy to me to think that what they were doing, what they're finding out that they were actually doing, is scavenging, okay? And not only just going and scavenging the meat from animals that, other animals had already killed, but really a lot of times the only animals that they were found are pretty well taken care of. It's not like, carnivores, when they're sitting there and killing the animals, then they're going to eat most of it, right? They're going to eat the bones too. A lot of stuff, it's going to be gone. So, what a lot of times the only thing that was left was the brains, okay? Studies say that. Look it up, people. Highly recommend looking your own information up rather than just taking the word of people who are trying to sell you things and get you to do things. So look it up. They were eating the brains, okay? So obviously that's going to be a lot different than our meat that you're having now. Not only, brain, obviously totally different composition, lot less fat, than the rest of the body. But also, when you compare that to the type of meat that we're eating now, a lot of people, not only is our meat, unless you're eating 100% grass-fed beef, which grass-fed beef isn't even 100%, grass-fed beef, you still have a higher fat product than if, these people were even eating cows back then, which they weren't, they were eating these little tiny animals like rabbits. It's, you can starve off of eating rabbits, people say, because they have so little protein and so little fat. So you have to consider these things. You can't just say, oh, well, Paleolithic people ate like rabbits and, even deer. The deer that you have is even leaner and healthier than grass-fed beef. So it's a completely different product, even before, you add in the corn, feed, and they're not just eating corn, you guys. They're feeding animals. They're feeding chickens and cows and pigs to all the different species. They're mixing it up. And cows can eat 15, I believe it's somewhere 15 to 20% of animal blood products in their food before they notice and reject that food. So these cows are way more fatty than they used to be. Not just way more fatty than the deer. You see what I mean? So, and obviously way more fatty than the brains and everything too. So, and not only that, but I don't think there's a lot of paleo people out here, especially the ones that I've seen on the message boards that I've happened to come across, and it is through a Durian Rider video. I'm not like scrolling paleo message boards, but he is, so you can blame him. But basically, they're cheating every chance they get. And they say on one hand, you know, oh, don't eat very many carbohydrates, don't eat very many carbohydrates, but they're drinking beer, okay? They are having cheat days where they will go and have brownies and ice cream and all this different stuff. So when you have a diet that is, you know, even if the Paleolithic people did have a lot of animal products, they didn't have cheat days, people, you know what I mean? They didn't have beer on the weekends, and people just want to separate that and say, oh, well, I eat paleo because of this and that, but yeah, you know, I'm not going to stop drinking my beer. I mean, how many guys do you think do that? So, and then the couple of last just comments that I have about this real quick is that they're actually showing that paleo people did eat a lot more vegetables. There were a lot of different species. People think, oh, you know, there was only the same species of, you know, plants and stuff, but really across the world there are so many different types of foods, fruits, and also vegetables all over the world, and there are a lot of tubers and things that are high carbohydrates and plants that you can eat that are you don't need to cook. So these are the things these people were eating, and the studies are showing, they're finding out that not only were they eating these, but they were actually more proficient than we thought at things like selecting their plant species. They're finding that not only were they cooking them earlier than they thought, but they were actually also making medicines. Neanderthals, again, look it up, just read the study. They were, and if you want to ask me for it, I'll give it to you. I didn't want to make the video super long just by adding all of the sources. But basically, they were making medicines out of plants. So if you take a people who didn't eat a lot of plants and you think that they had the knowledge to make medicines out of them, no. These people knew their plants. They knew, you know, which ones were good for them, which ones were bad for them. That obviously means that they ate plants. So that's what I have to say to all the paleo people. I used to promote paleo just because, like I said, it sounds good, but when you actually look deeper into this stuff, there's a lot of extra information. So if you like this video, don't forget to like it, give me a thumbs up, and please subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to eat your fruit.